Hi, I'm Misa Ramirez with Books on the House, and today we are talking with Addison Fox, author of Sons of the Zodiac, a fantastic series from Signet, NAL, New American Library. Welcome, Addison.
Thank you, Misa. Thank you for having me.
I'm very glad that you're here. I'm so excited to talk about your books. I love the premise of the Greek mythology. And I'd love for you to start by just giving us an overview of the series and then telling us about your new release, Warrior Avenged.
That sounds great. So my series, as you said, is the Sons of the Zodiac, and the premise is that there is an immortal band of Greek warriors, all of whom are tasked to fight the evils of the world to help save humanity on behalf of the Greek goddess of justice who created them. Each hero is embedded with a different trait of Zodiac and different qualities of their sign. And together, the entire band of brothers basically makes up one holistic fighting unit. And I've just had so much fun with these stories. The first one, Warrior Ascended, came out in March, and that's about my Leo warrior, who is a very sexy archaeologist. And then the next book, as you said, is Warrior Avenged, and that comes out in a couple of weeks on September 7th. And that is about my Scorpio warrior, Cain Montague. And he's very sexy, he's very lethal. And
my husband's a Scorpio.
So you know.
So I have a question for you. So the Greek mythology and the Zodiac, is that something that you blended together, or is that was your creation?
Yeah. Actually, that's a great question, because that's where a lot of the fun of the series has come for me. So what happened was I had the idea, the Zodiac idea that popped into my head, and I went, ooh, this could be kind of fun. And so I immediately ran to the internet, because that's where you go when you have an idea about anything, and quick jumped on Wikipedia. And where the story really began to grow and get a lot of legs is when I realized how much Greek mythology has influenced Western astrology. And that's where a lot of the fun started to come in. So if you look at a lot of the background for the constellations, if you look at a lot of the background for the naming devices within the Zodiac, for example, Libra is inspired by the goddess of justice, Temith. And so it's been a lot of fun for me to go ahead and play with those threads. The Zodiac traits is what makes my characters, what gives elements of the personality, but the Greek mythology is what gives them their backstory and why they're tasked to do what they do. So that part's been a lot of fun.
So it's really contemporary. It's a contemporary story, though, with this history, this band of brothers and the history of their mythology.
Absolutely, absolutely. Although they have been around for millennia and were created millennia ago, the stories themselves are set in modern day. So I actually have them set, they live in a brownstone in Manhattan, which is, in my paranormal world, half exists in Manhattan and half of it exists in the paranormal plane on Mount Olympus. So they've got a lot of room, far more than the average New York home would ever have.
So like there's a portal inside the brownstone that takes them?
There is, yeah, kind of exists in both worlds. And, and that's been a lot of fun. I mean, I'm in awe of my fellow paranormal writers and the different things that come out of their brains that make up their world. And that's been a lot of fun for me, too, and the creation of the series has been, who are these guys and where do they come from and how do they live and how do I basically take an environment that people know, here in modern contemporary times, but then add in these touches that nobody's quite expecting or doesn't know, kind of lives around the corner. So that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And so you have 12, there are 12 Zodiac signs. No, how many Zodiac signs are there?
So there's 12 Zodiac signs. And actually in my mythos, I actually have got 13 warriors in my unit because I gave Gemini twins. So
it's like a baker's dozen.
I've got 13.
that was a good way, Addison, to get a little bonus hero in there.
Exactly. And as a Gemini myself, I just couldn't resist not having two. So.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit more about Warrior Avenged, which is the new release you said coming out September 7th?
Absolutely. So, as I said, one of the things that's been really kind of fun is giving each of the characters very distinct traits steeped in their sign. And Scorpios are obviously a very sensual sign of the Zodiac. They're seen very much as leaders and as fighters, and My Scorpio hero, Kane Montague, is actually a gun for hire. He works for MI6 on the side. And I always kind of saw him in my head as my James Bond hero. And everybody got to meet him very, very briefly in the first book. Actually, I should say he was throughout the book, but in Warrior Ascended, he has a scene that happens relatively quickly where he is in a very sexy, very steamy scene with a fellow agent who burns him at the end of the scene at a very inappropriate, inopportune time. And the next book, Warrior Avenged, picks up 6 months after that has happened, and he is on the hunt out to find her. He wants to know why she burned him, and what he is refusing to admit to himself is he fell for her a lot harder than he had ever thought he would.
Oh, interesting.
So, and what's very interesting is Ilsa has some secrets of her own. She is not what she appears to be. She's actually not a super spy. She is she's a fallen nymph, and as part of the overall Greek pantheon. And she now has a special job. She delivers souls for Hades. And she has got a vendetta against Themis, the goddess that created the warriors. And she's made a deal to steal the Scorpio. And
wow. Okay, so you have already, my mind is going like this. How do you keep it all straight? Do you have, a spreadsheet, a big chart, flow chart, or something?
So actually, that is a great point. I keep a lot of notes in a lot of different places. I actually have become obsessed with Microsoft. The newest version of Office has this program called Notes that you can move stuff around. They keep little sticky notes, and I've got everybody's eye color and who does what, and any number of goofy things that come up along the way. But for me, the part that has been just an incredible amount of fun with this has been how vivid these characters have come to life for me. I think that's one of the joys of being a writer is when that happens. Yeah. But for whatever reason, these guys, they kind of popped in there fully formed, and they're just very clear to me, even though I've been clearly very eloquent about explaining where they came from and who they are and what's about to happen.
And that was a great image because didn't Athena, wasn't she birthed fully formed from Zeus's head?
That's a great point. I totally never thought about that.
Yeah, so you're right in there.
There you go. It's all there. It's like fate.
It is. So what's the next one? Are they all going to have the warrior?
No, and actually the funny part is that wasn't intentional. It just happened to be the Warrior Ascended makes sense based on some things that happened towards the end of that book. A character rises and ascends to a certain position. And in terms of the second book, he has got a vengeance. He's after Ilsa, and he wants to avenge what has happened to him 6 months ago. And then, oddly enough, while I really have had no intention to be this patterned, the third book is going to be Warrior Betrayed. So now I have two A's. And I've committed when I come up with story ideas for book 4 that I'm not picking a C word. I've got to have something else somewhere else in the alphabet.
Yeah.
So
can you give us a little snippet of what's going on in book 3 and when we can expect to see that?
Absolutely, I'd love to. So book 3 is my Taurus Warriors story.
Oh, I'm a Taurus.
There you go. See, Scorpio first. So Quinn actually has been he's in the first 2 books as well, and he is the very stubborn, bullheaded Taurus. He's also kind of the self-appointed leader of the group, although they're all very alpha, so they all butt heads quite a bit. But he not only is he their leader, but as I said, every one of them has a different trait that they contributed to the greater whole. And he also does a lot of surveillance for them and is figuring out kind of what's happening around them and where their enemies are. And he finds out that there is a character, a woman who he, of course, is destined for, but who is a shipping heiress. So picture if Aristotle Onassis' daughter was a New Yorker, and surprisingly enough, is the daughter of a Greek goddess, and she is being tasked to rise in her mother's place. So he gets involved, and he's got to protect her because there's many evildoers who don't want her to rise into the place of an immoral.
So do you have all 12 heroes already planned out? You know who they are, so they've come together in the books as the band of brothers, so to speak?
They do. I've got all of them mapped out in my head, and I've got all their backgrounds and who they are. In terms of introducing them in the story, I know as a reader, I love knowing that stories will keep going. But at the same time, it gets to be a bit of an overload to have that many characters. So I've tried to keep each story focused on the hero and then maybe 3 or 4 other warriors to kind of round out what's going on.
Yeah, I think it would be overwhelming to keep it all straight myself, but
yes,
I'm glad
absolutely.
that you can do it so we can enjoy it.
So some kind of rise up in a book and then some will take a lesser role.
Well, I can't wait. I haven't read the first one, I'm sad to say, but I'm going to get it now because I just love the Greek mythology tie-in to the Zodiac. I think it sounds fascinating, and I can't wait to start on that one and then pick up the second one.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This has been so much fun. It's so nice to see you.
I know, you too, and I can't believe you left Dallas for New York, but I hope that we'll see each other again soon. And I hope you come back on Books in the House when the next book comes out, Warrior Betrayed.
I would love to. Thank you for having me.
Okay, thanks, Addison. Bye.